So happy Wednesday, everybody. My thought for you that I can't even say that I'm working on this week because I'm kind of changing it even as I am saying it. But just before class, I received a text message from the family who adopted our dog years ago when we realized that he was too big and we didn't have the space or the time to give him the kind of life that he really deserved. So we found a family with a big backyard and kids and, people who were home and could run with him and play with him, the way that dogs really should be treated. And they were looking for a dog and we were looking for our dog to have a happy life. So we let him go. And we just received a message that our dog has liver cancer. I can't even say he's our dog anymore because he's their dog, but he'll always be ours. So that's a little bit sad, right? And so in my mind, I kind of want to just have this practice be in dedication to all those beings that are suffering in ways that we can't fully understand, right? So Caroline and I were just having this conversation in front of you before class that we can't always tell, right, what's going on in the head of another being, especially an animal, because they don't communicate in the same ways that we do. So we don't have that ability to rationalize the way we feel about what they're going through, right? Or we only have the ability to work with the way we feel about what we observe that they are going through, right? So it's what we think is happening in them that causes us to react the way that we react in us. And this is really one of those big teachings of yoga, is that you're doing this all the time, right? Every being you come in contact with, if you're not really paying attention to being in that state of observation with no judgment, is that you are reacting based on what you think is going on in them, only from what you can observe. And your observations are even being filtered through your own past experiences, right? So we're reacting often to something that's going on in us that we assume is happening outside of us, and maybe it isn't, right? So we increase the pain, we increase the suffering that we feel based on an assumption that may or may not be actually true, right? So how do we get around that? Well, we get around it by going to a place that says, I don't have to know exactly what's happening in your head. I don't have to have the rational explanation for how we got to this point, right? Because at this moment, I have the ability to simply be there for the best outcome that can be in this moment with no explanation. I don't have to know what the best outcome is, right? It doesn't have to be what makes me feel good or what makes me feel comfortable. The best outcome is what creates the most freedom for everyone, right? So especially when we're talking about something like illness, where there's what you can do and there's what you can't do, whether it's a person or an animal. And sometimes the best outcome is what's going to relieve the suffering of the one who's going through it physically, not just how does it feel to me, right? So this teaching, even though I'm saying it in this context with, an animal who's not even in my care anymore, right? But in my mind, it's always going to be an animal that's in my care. So we cultivate that attitude of all beings are in your care, right? They always are. We can hold that. And at the same time, to wish the best for them, the best outcome to relieve their suffering, means that we let go of the feeling that that outcome has to be what makes me comfortable, what makes me feel good about it, because that won't always be the truth, right? That won't always be what's really happening. So we're just practicing being in that space of feeling the weight of our own reactions, and then also feeling that there's a space for whatever the best outcome is. It creates freedom for both sides. Everyone who is suffering benefits from that, right? When we don't decide that it must happen this way because this is what makes me feel comfortable, right? So comfortable seat, let your eyes close. Just bring your breath in, and maybe for a moment, contemplate the beings in your own life who you really heartfelt wish for their suffering to be done. And can you wish that for them with no idea, no feeling about the way that it will come to its end? That you don't get to decide that, and it has nothing to do with you. The hardest part of yoga is working with that part of the mind, the ego part that says everything is about me, and going to the place in your awareness that says nothing is about me. So can you hold that line where you wish the best for those beings that on a personal level you hold so dear? And then also allow that space that however the best outcome is for them, regardless of what it feels like for you, that's what you wish. A couple more breaths, just feeling the weight of your own reactions, the weight of your own heart, because it's heavy to care. Even when you know that caring brings you a lot of joy, it's heavy to care. So I want you to feel it. And then also feel what happens to that heaviness when you kind of hand it over into that big space that says, someone else make this decision about how it's going to go. Maybe it feels like there's a little buoyancy, a little lighter. It's all we're practicing. That's what freedom is, tiny bit lighter than that weighty feeling of it's all on me. And then bring hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. And we'll open with the sound of Om, deep breath in. With the eyes float open. Nice, you guys can release your hands. And then come forward onto hands and knees. Let's do that. Good. Do a little bit of cat and cow. So pressing into your shins, pressing into your hands. Start to just move your spine with your breath. Inhaling, lifting long, exhaling, rounding, and really pulling up, up, up. So push into the hands and really pull the armpits up. Pull your low belly up. Good. And then keep moving with the breath. Nice. Sometimes we call it Ishvara Pranadhan, the surrendering to whatever your concept of the divine bigness is, the thing that is beyond your ability to quantify or control. And that always sounds very dramatic, right? Like it's jumping off a cliff or something like that. And sometimes it feels that way. It feels that dramatic. But it's really just what you just did. It's finding the edge of where your own reaction is. This is how I feel about what I'm observing, whether it's true or not. This is what I feel. And this is what I want the solution to be. And maybe I can't get it. Maybe I won't get it. It's falling over that edge and saying, whatever the best outcome is, it's not up to me. And I will accept. I'm open to accepting that outcome, even if it hurts a little bit. Not what I wanted. So it's falling over these little tiny cliffs inside of ourselves all the time and realizing that what we thought was going to be such a big drop that we would die is really just stepping down another step. Come back to stillness, please. Good. Press into your shins, please. And then I want you to keep your knees facing basically straight ahead, but start to press your hips back towards child's pose. So if you can't keep your knees straight ahead for that, you can widen them a little bit. But I want this sense that you're hugging your knees in and then scoop your belly a lot. So pause about halfway. Good. And then really pull the top of your pelvis up off of the top of your thighs. So you're hollowing your low belly, and then push your butt back more, but keep your ribs rounded. And I want you to keep doing that. Push down into your shins. So your shins are really active. Your feet are active. And then you're rounding into your belly. Push your hips back, back, back. So not down, but back. Good. And keep doing that. Keep hollowing the front of your pelvis. Keep hollowing your low belly. Keep the knees nice and parallel. Pull back on your hips. Good. And then stay rounded. Let your hips come all the way back to meet your heels if they can. Knees still facing straight ahead. So it's like you're dropping into a parallel child's pose. Good. Keep that roundedness in your back. Drop your forehead to the floor if you'd like. You can walk your hands forward, but I want you to keep that engagement in the lowest part of your belly. Good. And keep pressing into your shin. So this is, I'm trying to get your legs warm in a way, your lower back in a way where if there is nerve stuff going on, coming through the lower back, that you're actually giving space there, that you're actually creating the opportunity for things to release. So parallel, Squeeze into that low belly. One more breath. And then go ahead and relax that squeeze. Just rest. Let your ribs go where they want to go. Let your back widen. Nice. Awesome, you guys. And then take your hands back behind you, please. Interlace your fingers at the low spine because you're there. Why not? Good. With the elbows bent, hug the upper arms towards each other. Yeah, nice, Kristen, pulling the armpits forward first. So hug the upper arms. Nice. And then try and feel that while you're hugging those upper arms in, that you are taking the lower tips of your shoulder blades down. So you're still forehead to the floor, but try and lift the front of your chest forward like you're trying to straighten your upper back, and bring those lower tips of your armpits down towards your hips and the lower tips of your shoulder blades in as your chest lifts. Good. Now maintain that forehead to the floor, roll up onto the crown of your head, lift your hips, and start to take the arms up and over any amount. Don't lose that squeeze. So don't lock the elbows thinking that that's going to create more stretch. You can start to straighten the arms, but you're working from that place of your shoulder blades. Your shoulder blades have to roll inward, and your upper chest has to have this feeling of expansion. Nice, Harriet. Good. And then release the hips back down, please. Release the arms and come back up to hands and knees. Good. Bring your right thigh in front of your left, or right knee in front of your left. Yep. Separate your feet. And then again, walk your hips back about halfway first. So hips press back towards the floor like you're going to sit between your heels. Arms extend forward. So it's like you're doing a Gomukhasana, child's pose. Good. So just feel your back for a breath there. And then walk yourself all the way back so that your butt comes to the floor between your heels, not on your heels. Use a blanket there underneath your seat if you need. Good. If sitting this way doesn't work for the knees, then you can cross right shin in front of left. Good. And then walk your right arm out wide to the right, fingertips on the floor. Fingertips on the floor. Yep. Walk out far. And then take your left arm over the ear, side body stretch. Good. So you're getting heavy in the hips here. So if the knees are a little challenged, flex the feet a lot. Good. Feel as though you are trying to draw that right knee, squeeze it in towards your chest just a little bit. So it's like you're rotating the thigh inward towards the midline of your body. Good. Walk out a little further on that right hand, you guys. Some of you can drop down onto your forearm. Bend the elbow. Let yourself go low. Good. Really get into side body, side waist. Awesome. And then bring yourself back up to center, please. Go the other way. Left hand walks out and down. Right arm comes over the ear. Again, keeping your sit bones rooted to the floor. So both sides of your pelvis, both sides of your butt, stay anchored to the floor. Nice. And then go ahead and walk your left hand out a little further. Drop down to the forearm. I know. So I want you to go to the place that you would normally go and say, this feels like enough of a stretch. And then I want you to go further and drop yourself into it, right? Fall off of that little cliff and say, I can go that deep and still feel, and I wasn't destroyed. Walk yourself all the way back up. Nice. Good. Cross at the ankles, please. So move the knees wide enough so you can just cross the shins, roll forward onto hands and knees, and then press back to downward facing dog. Good. Nice, you guys. Bend your knees deeply. Press your butt back towards your heels. Scoop your belly so that that front edge of your pelvis is staying really hollow and spacious. Good. And the knees are tracking right towards that second or third toe of each foot. And then can you feel again that those lower tips of your shoulder blades are pressing in towards the middle of your back, and you're lifting your collarbones up towards your thumbs? Yeah, do that. Lift your collarbones up, widen that chest. Good. Now pull your hips back at the same time. Yeah, and then hug your forearms towards each other. Good. Nice, Sarah. And then take the legs back to straight, please. Don't lose any of that upper body awareness. Good. And then knees down to the floor, hands and knees. Good. Take the other leg in front. So left leg in front of right would be the logical thing for what I usually do, but who knows? If that's not your second side, then do whatever is the second side. Separate your feet, walk your hips back halfway, and pause. I like that some of you have your dogs practicing with you. Good. And then walk yourself all the way back so that your butt finds the floor between your heels or again, sitting on a prop. Good. And if this really doesn't work for the knees, then left shin in front of right, sitting cross-legged. And again, just for a second, you guys, that leg that's on top, bring the knee up towards your belly. Yep. Bring it up. Yeah. Because I want you to feel that this is the rotation that we're working with. So as you bring that knee up and that inner thigh rolls in and down, so bring the knee up and then try and send your left butt cheek back and wide. So push into that left sit bone as the knee comes up. Good. And then once you found that, go ahead, maybe let the knee fall open again or keep it where it is if that feels better. Good. And then left hand walks out and wide. Right arm comes over the ear. Side body stretch. Good. Nice. And then walk the left hand out a little further, drop down onto the forearm. And if you didn't do it on the first side, definitely try to do it here. Let yourself drop in. Even if it feels a little intense on that right side. Good. Bring yourself back up to center. Go the other way. Right hand walks out and wide. Left arm comes over the ear. Nice. So that's the effort part of the pose, right? That you have to hold yourself up here. Long throat, so push the crown of your head long towards the fingertips that are overhead. And then walk that right arm out forward a little bit more because that makes more space in your shoulder. And then drop down onto your forearm. Good, which makes more space in your side body and into the top of that hip. Keep rooting your left butt cheek down to the floor. Nice. Those little cliffs where we realize that it's just our own reaction that's making us suffer. Walk yourself back up. Good. Unwind the legs so you can cross at the ankles, roll forward onto hands and knees. Come back to downward facing dog. Nice. Beautiful. Bring the right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Scooping the belly as you do that. So especially if you have sciatic stuff going on, make sure that you keep lifting that front edge of your pelvis. So do that. Hollow your low belly again. It's going to cause your leg to drop in space. That's okay. As the leg drops, now you can extend out through the inner thigh more and really kick up through your heel. It's going to strengthen your butt. It's going to strengthen your hamstring. So go ahead and kick that leg a little higher without letting your pelvis collapse. Good. And then step that foot forward between the hands, lunge. Really nice, you guys. That was good, Lauren. Good. Drop the back heel, baby toe parallels back of your mat. So your legs are in warrior two, but your arms are on the floor. Hands are on the floor. Good. Both hands inside the front foot. Walk to your left just a little bit until you start to feel resistance. Keep that front knee pointing straight at the second toe. Keep your right butt cheek pulling in towards the midline of your mat. Good. So that means that your left knee can't lock back too far. And that left inner thigh is going to pull way up and back. Scoop your belly. Squeeze your feet towards each other. Good. And then walk a little further to your left with your torso. Squeeze the legs. And then for fun, take your arms out wide, airplane arms. Hold the legs. Don't let your knee fall open. Don't let your butt pop out. Good, Calliope. Nice, Lisa. S. Good. Release the hands down to the floor. Awesome. Walk your hands forward, back towards the top of your mat. Good. Spin your back heel up and then step your left foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight Parsvottanasana. Good. Again, scooping your belly a lot. Sending that outer left hip spinning forward. Right low belly pulls wide. Beautiful. So it kind of works, right? Sciatic nerve stuff or compression in the body, right? All of that has to do with what our habits are. How the body's gotten stuck in a certain place. That the whole practice is to try to create a spaciousness around that stuckness. And often that means that we have to contract the area. We have to engage the area. We have to get close to that feeling of where the pain is in order to release it. Good. But we take refuge, right? This was my thought that I had going into classes, this concept of what you take refuge in, what you hide in. When you can't figure it out anymore, what do you hide in? What do you reach for? So we take refuge in things like compassion, and sometimes we label that as figures who we think did a really good job of it, right? So we take refuge in the Buddha, or we take refuge in Jesus, or any chosen form of that big energy, however it speaks to you. Taking refuge in it means that I give away, or I give up my sense that it has to be my way. Shvara Pranadhan. One more breath, squeeze your feet. Good. And then bend that right knee, please. Step forward, top of your mat. Good. Bend your knees, drop your sit bones back and down for chair. Stretch the arms up alongside your ears. And I want you to feel here, and you can physically put a block between your legs if you'd like to really feel it. But otherwise, I want you to at least imagine that you are hugging something between the upper legs. Good. And that hugging something, so you stay in that chair pose. And if you have a block there, you can keep it there. And then I want you to come up on the ball of your right foot. So left foot stays flat, come up on the ball of your right foot and feel what you have to do with that left butt cheek to not sway everything out to the side. Good. Release that right heel down, come up on your left ball of your foot. So lift your left heel and contract that right glute. Release that left heel down to the floor, come all the way up to stand. Keep hugging that block without pushing your hips forward. Tops of the thighs pull up and your tail drops, but your hips do not push forward. Good. And then bend your knees again, come back to that chair pose with that feeling of what it was like to have your butt fully engaged. Good. So your knees should not feel the pressure here. Lift the ball, come up on the ball of that right foot again, lift the heel. Good. You feel the contraction on the other side. Release that heel down. Come up on the ball of the left foot. Good. Release that heel down. Good. Come all the way up to straight again. Straighten the legs. Pull up through the thighs. Don't lock your knees. Good. And then one more time, back to chair. Bend your knees. Good. So here's where if you have the block, you might lose it with this position, which is fine. If the block falls, you let it fall. So wait onto that right foot. Pick your left foot up off the floor. Super bonus points if you don't lose the block. Nice, Alice. Nice, Laura. Good. Don't let your hips sway to the right. Place that foot down to the floor. Find equilibrium again. Good. Lift your left foot up off the floor. Good. Yeah, don't let your shoulders get crazy here. Everything else stays neutral. You just shifted your weight. Good. Place that foot down, hands to the floor, and bow. My God. But contracting, really working your glutes and working the low back, the hamstring area is a really good idea if you have a tendency towards sciatic stuff, because you want that area to stay very free. Good. So as long as the movement itself is not triggering the pain, it's good for you. Hands to the floor, step back, downward facing dog. Good. Left leg up and back, down dog split. Toes down towards the floor. Feel that hollowing of your low belly again. So you lift your hip points away from your thigh. Good, and that's gonna drop your heel in space, but then extend out through the inner thigh, and from your hamstring, from your butt, lift a little higher. So you don't let your back arch here, but you really get full extension. Good, and then step that foot forward between the hands. Nice, you guys. That's how we build the flexibility for standing split, right? We have to engage the back as well as the leg. Drop your back heel, please. Both hands come inside the front foot. Good. Walk to your right just a little bit until you start to feel resistance. So your front knee continues to point straight ahead at that second or third toe. Good. And your left butt cheek that wants to push out to the left, pull it back and in. That's it, Sarah. Good. Nice, Susan. Two Susans, my Susan and Sue. Good. Pull that back thigh away. And then walk your torso to the right just a little bit further. Hold the legs steady. Good, Carolina, pull that left butt cheek back and in. There you go. And then arms out wide, you guys, airplane arms. Good, Lisa. Lisa B, 3 Lisas. And then release the hands down to the floor. Really good, you guys. Walk back towards the top of your mat. Good, spin that back heel up. Step your right foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight Parsvottanasana. Good. Again, pressing into the feet, scooping your belly. It's one of those, I don't know that I would call it a joke, but it's one of those sweet things that, you know, we say in the yoga world that dogs are actually the reincarnation of monks who didn't finish what they were trying to do when they were in a human lifetime. So they come back as dogs, they say, to practice unconditional love and service, right? And so maybe we feel that way about dogs when we really have a good relationship with them, but think about dogs that have pissed you off in your life, the ones that don't behave well, the ones that bark at you, that try to bite you. Maybe you're scared of dogs. Maybe all of that is also a way that you can, from your own reactions, learn that fundamental teaching, right, of compassion, the fundamental teaching of how to go beyond just what I feel and what I want for me. The best outcome for both of us, all of us. Can I wish for that? Good, you guys. Bend that left knee again, please. Plant the hands, step back, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good. Lower down slow to your belly. Go ahead and rise up cobra, lift head, neck, and chest. Just find the stretch at the front of the body. Press down through your feet. Notice if you are clenching your butt cheeks, and then come back to your belly. Good. And then can you press your shins down and feel again like your shins are hugging something? Again, you don't have to physically put a block there, but have this sense of drawing in that your shins are hugging. Good. Your inner thighs maybe even are hugging, but your butt cheeks are not clenching. But I want you to engage them. So you're activating each butt cheek the same way you did when you were standing on one leg doing chair. So try and find that activation, clench one butt cheek, then the other, isolated, and then engage them both, but without squeezing in towards the center. Good. Top of the thigh pulls up in towards your pelvis, hands press down and drag back, rise up cobra with your legs doing that. Good. Pull your low rib cage in. So it's your back of your heart that pulls up. And your collarbones lift up because your shoulder blades are drawing down and in. Nice. And then look like you're happy to be here. There you go. And then release. Nice, Susan. Susan Chan, she smiled the biggest. Good. Flip over onto your back, please. Onto your back. Bend your knees. Right ankle comes on top of left thigh. Good. Lift your left shin parallel to the floor. Reach through to hold the legs. A little bit more weight on the left side of your sacrum, so a little bit more weight on the left side of your low back. There you go. Feet are flexed. Good. And then there's a little engagement of that lowest part of your belly just to keep the back of your sacrum rooted down to the floor. So again, you're elongating the back as you draw the knees in. As you draw the knees in, good. That's stretching through the back of the legs and the attachments that wrap around the pelvis up into the back. You also want to be elongating the other way. Nice. Good, good, good. The concept of taking refuge. When I want to run away, what do I run to? Right? What's home base? What's your safe place? And if you don't have one and you think, well, when I need to run, I just run until I find food or TV or even yoga, whatever. I just run until something stops me. We call that karma. That our reactions are what create that sense of karma, that we have no sense of control. Things are just happening. But somehow we still think it's about us. Switch the legs, please. Take your left ankle over your right thigh. Right shin parallels the floor, reach through to hold. So instead, we're offered the other view that says, yeah, things are happening all the time. And instead of being stuck in your reaction, which decides the next thing that you think you have to do to continue the reaction, instead of that, we can recognize that things are continuing to happen and none of it is necessarily about us. We might be involved, we might be participating, but it's not about us and what we want and what we don't want. So you're able to make conscious choices about how to respond instead of react. And in that, there's that sense of freedom that says, even if the outcome is not what I wanted it to be, doesn't feel good to me, if it's the best outcome that I could contribute to, then I give that up. And that's my wish, is I can contribute to the best outcome, even if it's not what I wanted. Ishvara Pranadhan, you fall over that tiny cliff in yourself that goes from the ego perspective to the universal perspective. Good. Release that leg, hug your knees in towards your chest. And then place your feet down to the floor. The formula of yoga class. I give you something to do with your body that maybe you don't mind so much, and then you have no choice but to listen to me talk. Press your feet down. Come into bridge pose, please. So as your feet are hip width apart, drag your butt towards your heels. Set your arms either straight or robot arms, your choice. Root down through the tops of your shoulders. Feel that press of the front of your ribs towards your back shoulder blades. Hips come up, ribs come up. Good. Bring your knees towards the tips of your toes. And the lift comes from the back of your heart. Nice. And here too, you can have that contraction of your glute, so each side, but not a squeezing in towards your tailbone. If you're squeezing in, you're going to compress something. Either today or tomorrow, something will get compressed. Good. And then release the hips back down to the floor. Nice. All right, right leg extends out at an angle. So your left leg stays where it is. Extend your right leg out straight at an angle off the floor. So still in front of you, faces straight in front of you. Just lift the leg up so that the knees are in line with each other. So that right leg is going to be at an angle diagonal to the floor. You got it. And then set your arms, robot arms for this variation because it's much more, gets you into your upper body. Flex that right foot if you will. Good. You're going to keep your knees in line with each other. Press into your arms. Use that left leg, lift up into bridge, and press out through that right heel. Keep your knees in the same line with each other. So you got to keep that right leg dropping so that it's in line with the left. Good. And you're pressing out through the heel, but pulling up through the thigh. So pull that thigh up into the hip. That's it. Good. And then release the hip down to the floor. You're doing the same thing on the same side. So if you need to rest the leg for a breath, go ahead and let it rest. And then you're going to take it back out to that same angle, root through the upper body, engage that left glute, lift up into that one-legged bridge, press out through the heel and pull the top of the thigh up into the pelvis. Good. Try to keep both sides of your pelvis level here, right and left. Good. Nice job checking, Lisa. And then release the hips down to the floor. This should feel like a lot of work. For like 99.9% of people, this is a lot of work, myself included. So if you're like, I hate it, I understand. Do it anyway. One more time. Right leg lifts, same leg. Good. Root down through the arms, press into that left heel, left butt cheek engages, lift the hips, press out through the right heel, pull the top of the thigh up. Try to keep right and left side balanced. So Lisa B, you got to lift that right hip a little higher. There you go. Nice. Lisa P, also a little higher. There you go. Awesome. And then slowly release, come on down, release that foot to the floor, pause to rest, both feet flat. So why I'm having you do this is one of those exercises that is designed to help stabilize and reset SI joints, right? So both sides of your lower back. So since that was one of the requests, that's what we're working with. All right, get ready. We're going to do the other side. So bend your knees again, plant the feet. Left leg is going to extend this time. Again, finding the angle where your knees are in line with each other. Good, but not where your knees are angling in. So this can get tricky. You want your knees to still track and your legs to still track in line with your hips. Don't let them fall inward. Good, set your arms, please. Right butt cheek engages, lift up into that bridge pose, extend out through your heel, but pull the top of the thigh up into the pelvis. Both sides of the pelvis stay level. Good. Nice, Mark, you got it. Nice, Harriet. Awesome, release the hips down. Do not be surprised if one side is significantly more difficult than the other. Again, very common, whichever one is a little bit more unstable or out of place is likely the one that is going to be harder to work with. Same thing, left leg stretches out, knees in line with each other, press the arms down, engage that right butt cheek, lift up into bridge, press out through the left heel, but pull up through the top of the thigh. And again, try not to let the knees angle in. You want to keep them straight in line with the hip. You got it. Good, release the hip down. Nice, you got one more on this side. Don't give up in your mind or in your heart or anywhere else. Good, extend that left leg. Nice, press into the upper arms. Again, engaging the upper back. So you're not just digging into the floor hoping, right? You're engaging your back, lift up, press out through that heel and drag back through the top of the thigh. Nice. Part of what makes this work is that dragging back and the pushing forward at the same time. Good. And then let it go. Nice job. Both feet find the floor. Pause and rest. Really good, you guys. Yeah. Recognizing our reactions is one thing. Many of us get pretty good at that, diagnosing where our mind has gone wrong or where our brains are going wrong or our body's going wrong. But then actually doing the things that create the freedom for it to act any other way, that's where we balk. That's the edge of the cliff. I mean, I actually have to consider what's beyond my reaction. Yes. So when it's a refuge, I'm running to something that I think is outside of myself. Maybe we think that it's easier to do it that way. Something outside of me that I'm hiding in. But yoga also teaches us that that bigness that you think is outside of you that's you on the inside too. It's the ego forgets or the ego doesn't acknowledge. So whatever it is that you think you're running to that's already inside of you. So at what point do you fall off of the cliff that says that my ego is in charge of how connected I am to that bigness? And that's its job, is to manage that. And it's doing the best job it knows how to do. If you want it to do different or better, you got to give it the opportunity, the tools. Don't run from it. Let it run with you into that bigness. Bring your knees in towards your chest. Good. Right ankle over left thigh, please. As a spider runs across my path. Fun. Good. Left shin parallel to the floor. Hug it in. As you hug it in here, see if you can fold a little bit deeper. So really bring those knees in towards your chest. Good. And then deep breath in. As you exhale, some of you might even lift your shoulders and reach further. Try and reach for your ankle or your foot. You can reach through that gap in the legs. It's usually how it works the best, or you can reach around, but squeeze in. Yeah, you got it, Kristen. Good. Nice, Sarah. Good, Lisa P. And then slowly release, please. Good. So shoulders back to the floor. Take your left foot back to the floor. Right ankle is still stacked. And then drop your legs to your left. Yep. So your right foot is going to come flat to the floor, ankle pressing against the thigh, and your right knee is angling up towards the ceiling, but your right lower back is coming down towards the floor. So you don't want your knee to fall open any more than straight up towards the ceiling. Good. So Kristen, try and just plant that right foot. Yeah, so bring it all the way over if you can with your left knee, all the way over. All the way over, all the way over, all the way over. And then try this, place the bottom of your left foot, sorry, your right foot, the bottom of your right foot on your left inner thigh. Yeah, I meant just Kristen, but if all of you are doing that, that's okay. I'm adjusting for her because her hips do not want to go in that position. Good. But good job assuming that it was all about you. Awesome, you guys. Slowly release. Come on back to center, please. Unwind the legs. It is all about you. And if that variation felt fantastic to put your foot on the inside of the thigh instead of have the ankle crossed over, then, you know, swaha, you learned something. All right, left knee over right thigh. Lift that right shin parallel to the floor. Reach through to hold. Good, and squeeze in. So again, you want to go a little bit deeper in that hugging than maybe you did the first time around. Still keep the low belly engaged, so you're still lengthening through the lowest part of your spine. But fold in. Good. And then on your next exhale, if you'd like, lift head, neck, and chest, reach through, reach further to try and find that right ankle or foot, drag in. Again, that's just to really feel how much you can get the whole length of the connection of your legs to your back. Awesome. And then slowly release. Relax the shoulders. Keep the left ankle where it is. Right foot finds the floor. And then you're dropping your legs to the right. So again, your left foot is going to come flat to the floor, ankle pressed against the top of the thigh still, unless your hips really do not want to do that. Then take the foot to the inside of the thigh and keep trying to point that left knee up towards the ceiling. That's what you're trying to do, because that's what's going to get into the outer hip. And then the back of your left sacrum is dropping down towards the floor. Yep. Yeah, you got it, Kristen. And then just drop that left side of your low back down towards the floor as much as it'll go. There you go. Awesome, you guys. Good, Sarah. Really nice. Funny question that crossed my mind, that if you think that you don't succeed at whatever your life's purpose is in this lifetime, what would you like to be reincarnated as? Would you like to be a cat or a dog or a squirrel? Right? All beings come from the same essence. So what experience do you want that you think is going to complete what you don't succeed in this lifetime? That you think you don't succeed in? Come on back to center, please. Good. Hug the knees in towards your chest. Nice. Roll yourself up to sit. Cross the ankles. Come all the way forward onto hands and knees. Come back to downward facing dog. Good. Right foot steps forward between the hands. Good. Back heel comes flat. Baby toe parallels back of your mat. Come into warrior two. Good. Stretch both arms up to the sky. Reach, grab your right wrist with your left hand, please, and then pull to the back of your mat. Yeah. Again, letting yourself drop into that front thigh. So the thigh descends a little bit more, but your feet get super awake. Press through the heel. Good. Nice, Sue S. And then come all the way back up to center, please. Beautiful. Stretch the arms out wide. Right forearm to front thigh for a moment. Left arm over the ear. Extend. Pull your low rib cage in and stack your left shoulder higher on top of your right. Good. Right knee still pulling wide towards middle toe, second toe. Awesome. And then gaze down towards the floor. Left hand to your left hip. Right hand reaches forward, down and forward, Ardha Chandrasana. So reach beyond the toes of your front foot. Bring your weight onto that leg. Remember, contract that butt cheek, engage it, so that when you come up, that leg is really already holding you. You don't have to try and maneuver your balance while you already have one leg in the air. Good. And you're stacking the hip open, but you're keeping that right butt cheek drawn back and the top of your pelvic bones pulling up towards your ribs. Don't lose that. And then maybe left arm goes to the sky. Maybe it stays right where it is. Nice. So don't focus on pulling back with your left heel, your lifted heel. I want you to pull back on your right butt cheek instead. Pull back on the top of your right thigh instead. Awesome. And then see if you can bend your left knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Don't reach back for the foot. Just draw your knee back a little longer without letting your right butt cheek fly out to the side. And then rotate your ribs open a little more, like you're going to reach for that foot, but don't reach for it. Don't reach for it. Just turn your heel down and your thigh up. Good. And then extend all the way back out. Really nice. Step it all the way back, downward facing dog. Wow. Nice. Good. Vinyasa if you'd like, child's pose if you prefer. If you're doing the vinyasa, you're sliding forward to plank, lowering down slow, rising up cobra, remembering to keep your legs super engaged. Front of the pelvis rises up, low ribs draw back. Nice. And then find your way back to downward facing dog. Good. Left foot steps forward between the hands. Right heel comes flat, baby toe parallels back of your mat. Take the arms up to warrior two. Good. Arms to the sky. Yeah. Right hand holds left wrist. Pull to the back of your mat. Nice. And as you're pulling towards the back of your mat, you're letting that thigh settle in a little bit more. Your back thigh pulls up and away. So you're keeping the sense that you are staying spacious in your pelvis, in your legs. Good. Come all the way back up to center, please. Arms wide. Left forearm onto front thigh. Right arm comes over the ear. Good. And keep squeezing your feet towards each other. So again, part of this sequence is to keep your legs really awake, but your hips are rotating, right? Where before we were working much more parallel, this is your hips are rotating. Good. Stack that right shoulder a little higher. Awesome. And then right hand to your right hip. Take your gaze down and forward. You can use a block underneath your left hand if you'd like. Ardha Chandrasana. And again, as you're coming into it, shift your weight onto that left leg. Use your butt so that as you come up and you engage the low belly as well, that you are keeping your pelvis really well supported. You're keeping your low back really well supported. So you don't have to try to adjust that while you are in a precarious position. Good. Keep that left butt cheek pulling back and in, top of the left hip pulling back and in, right arm to the sky if you'd like, or keep it at the hip. Nice. So that feeling, right, that we say sometimes is that if you're truly balancing on that left leg, is you should have almost no weight on your left hand. It's just something to notice for yourself. Good. And then bend your right knee, take your heel in towards your butt, but don't reach for the foot. Just draw your thigh back, draw your knee back a little longer. And again, turn your heel down towards the middle of your butt cheek, but your thigh spins up. Good. And heart falls open to the sky as your shoulder comes back, like you're going to reach for the foot, but you don't. Awesome. And then go ahead and release, extend all the way back out. Come on down, downward facing dog. Good job. And then knees to the floor, please. Child's pose with your knees as wide as you want them to be. But again, my suggestion is if you have a little sciatic stuff going on is don't go as wide as you usually would. Or if you are going wide, make sure that you're hugging your inner thighs in, because that hugging in is going to engage the muscles on the outer thigh, outer hips, and that's actually going to help free up space at the back of your pelvis and into your lower back if you're doing that. So it just makes it a little bit less likely that you're going to keep pushing on that nerve. Good. Nice, you guys. And then walk yourself back up, please. Come to sit on your butt. Bring the bottoms of the feet together. Let your knees go wide, Baddha Konasana. Good. Sending your sit bones back and wide. Yeah. And then your favorite Baddha Konasana, whatever you'd like, start to bow forward. So you can hold the ankles if you want. You can walk the arms forward. If you're holding your ankles, though, my rule is that you got to relax your shoulders away from your ears. Good. Nice, you guys. It's all those little cliffs in ourselves that are right at the edge of what our reaction is. And our reaction includes what we feel about things in the moment, as well as all the reasons why we feel that way. So it's all of our past, and it's all of what we are afraid that the future might bring after that reaction. That's all wrapped up in that moment where you say, this is what I feel about this. So it's not just the moment that you're in, it's everything. So that's why it feels like it's that cliff that if you fall off of it the wrong way, you're going to die. But it's never going to be the end of you. That's what the practice teaches us, is that if you take refuge in that bigness that's beyond your reaction, is that there is no moment that will be the end of you until it is the moment where you decide to take that last breath. And even that is not the end of you, it's the end of this embodiment. Difference. So can you fall off of that cliff over and over again? Walk yourself back up. If you have a block, grab a block. And you're going to place that block between your feet. So any width that you would like, the wider you go, the more intense it's going to be on your hips. So the narrowest, of course, would be this way between your feet. These are your feet. Or you can come, this is the biggest one, right? You can come this way. You can come this way. Yeah. So find your setting between your feet. But your feet, bottoms of your feet should be pressing all the way into the sides of your block. Curl your toes back. Wiggle your butt back, and then take that forward fold again. You got it. And if you don't have a block, you can totally just separate your feet here and maybe place your forearms in between. Good. Use a tissue box or something. The idea is to just give yourself something to push into so that your legs stay a little bit more active and wider than you would normally take them. Good. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. One more breath. And then bringing yourself all the way back up to sit. Nice job. Move your block, scoot forward onto your backs. So come forward and then come onto your backs. And then again, if you have a block handy, go ahead and lift your hips, place the block underneath your sacrum. Supported bridge pose. So if you don't have a block and you want this to be, again, a little bit more restorative, is Lauren, I see you have a chair close by. You could bring that chair over and do a pseudo legs up the wall. So with bent knees, rest your backs of your calves on the chair, seat of the chair. Which if you've never done that at home, right, you have chairs around. You can always try that. Good. Calliope, just watch your knees. Don't go wider than your hips. Even though it probably feels good to do that, don't. Don't do the thing that feels good. Do the thing that's going to create freedom. It's the whole teaching today. Is don't chase what is going to satisfy your reaction, because it may or may not be the truth. And actually, the way the sutras are taught is it would say 99.9% of the time, the way you're reacting is not the truth. It's not to the truth, because our senses have trouble discerning that. We know what we want for ourselves, but we can't see the world through the eyes of someone else. And even if we could, it's not guaranteed that we're going to decide that what they want is equally important or more important than what we want. So we take refuge in that energy that is able to hold all desires and find the middle way, or find the way through that is the best outcome for all. So we practice wishing for that. We practice cultivating an attitude of acceptance of that. Good, you guys. I want you to arch your back just a little bit. So you take the top edge of your pelvis and move it away from your ribs. So it's going to feel like you're arching your lower back, like you're dropping your tail down towards your heels. That's it. So the tops of your thighs, that crease is going to get softer. Good. You're still on the block. You're just tilting the pelvis a little bit more, letting the thighs sink into the hip socket. And then still on the block, draw your right knee in towards your chest. Keep that same angle on your pelvis. So you're still trying to almost fall off the block with your butt. But draw that right knee in, hold behind the thigh, extend that right heel up towards the ceiling, but keep sending your tail down towards the floor, rotating down towards the floor. So your thigh bone is really falling into the hip socket. Nice. And then release that leg down to the floor. Good, do the other side. So the right foot comes down, left knee comes in towards your chest, still on the block. And still with that front edge of your pelvis tilting towards your heels, away from your ribs. That's it. Good, Kristen. And then extend that left heel up towards the ceiling. Good, Lisa P. It looks like you could send your tail towards your heels a little more. Just rotate it. Right, there you go. Yeah. Nice, you guys. And then release that leg down to the floor. Good. Lift your hips, move that block, and slowly come on down. Beautiful. Good. And then draw your right knee in towards your chest. Yeah. Extend your left leg down to the floor with that same feeling that as that left leg comes straight down to the floor, that top edge of your pelvis is moving away from your ribs just a little bit. Good. And then turn your, take your right knee a little wider, turn your shin. So reach with your left hand for the baby toe edge of your right foot. Turn your shin like you are doing pigeon pose, but you're lying on your back. Good. So the right hand can hold the knee. The left hand is holding your foot. There you go. You got it, Susan. Good. And then you're lifting. So your top of your right thigh is moving down towards your extended heel, but you're lifting your right heel up towards your chest. Bring your shin up towards your chest more. That's it. And then push that right foot into your left hand. Good. Top of that left thigh roots down. Nice. And then hand that right foot off to your right hand. So same hand, same foot. There you go. Good. And then that knee comes a little closer in towards your side ribs. Draw it in and then start to straighten the leg. So you're coming into like a hamstring stretch, but just at an angle over your shoulder. Good. Both sides of your pelvis rooting down. Nice. And then bend the knee again, back in towards your chest, bring it straight in and hug. Good. And then send it down towards the floor, bring the other knee in, so the left knee comes in towards your chest. Squeeze. And then turn the shin, so reaching for the foot with your right hand. Good. Left hand, if it's helping the knee to move wider, I want you to do it from the top of your thigh. So get closer up towards where your pelvis is. Don't push on the knee itself. Just move the thigh. Good. And then foot is flexed. Push the foot into your hand. And again, you're lifting your shin up towards your chest a little bit more, but the top of your left thigh is pulling down towards your extended heel. So Lisa S., move your knee wider to the left. There you go. Good, you guys. Pigeon pose on your back. Be just as dedicated here to finding the openness in your pelvis as you would be if you were doing it on your front. Good. Nice, Lauren. Just flex that foot a lot. You got it. Good. And then hand that foot off to your left hand. So same hand, same foot, holding the baby toe, side of your foot. Good. Knee right over the shoulder. So if it's gone very, very wide, maybe hug it in a little bit and then start to straighten the leg. So it's coming into like you're doing Hanumanasana. but the left leg is coming at an angle over your shoulder, so it's not straight on, slightly out to the left. Good, and that's just to give you a little bit more feeling of space in your sit bones, a little bit more space maybe in your hamstring. Good. Just left butt cheek on the floor, left shoulder down to the floor as much as you can, Harriet. There you go. Nice, you guys. Bend that knee back in towards your chest. Good. And then pull both knees in, please. Yeah, I see a little circling going on already, so just go ahead, do a little moving the knees. Massage the lower back, knee circles. Make sure you go both ways. Good. And then come back to stillness, please. Cross the right thigh on top of the left. Again, that Gomukhasana position, separate the feet, reach for your ankles or feet, drawing the knees in towards your chest. So Calliope, I would hold higher up on your legs so that your ankles don't come into that angle. So you can pull your baby toes back. There you go. And then relax your shoulders as best you can. There you go. Good, you guys. And especially if there is lower back stuff here, squeeze your feet towards each other. Even though your feet are wide, squeeze them towards each other. And then press your low back down into the floor. Good. And then go ahead and release the legs and switch to the other side. Left leg on top of right. Reaching for the ankles or the feet. And again, for a moment, squeeze the feet towards each other so you're really exaggerating that internal rotation of the legs. Press your low back down to the floor. Good. And then slowly unwind, bring the knees back together. Scoot your hips over to the left, drop your knees to the right. Keeping the knees stacked right on top of each other in the same line. So as you come into your twist, you maintain that. And then if the left shoulder doesn't comfortably come towards the floor, stretch the arm up over your ear instead. But keep your knees really stacked, because your knees on top of each other means that your hips are going to be closer to on top of each other. And a neutral pelvis is the happiest one for all those nerves that run through. And if you have it where the two sides of your pelvis tend to go out of alignment, really important that you maintain the alignment here. Good. There's a lot of words to say, keep your knees in the same line. Come back towards center, please. Scoot your hips over to the right, drop your knees to the left. It is part of that conversation, right? Of knowing what you can do and what you can't do. And if you don't engage in what you can do simply because part of you doesn't want to do it, then that's the place where we start to participate in our own suffering. The practice of yoga is to remember or recognize what your suffering is, where it comes from, and how you are perpetuating it, how you're part of it. And just as you may have helped to create what feels like your suffering, you are the one who has the power to get out of it. So what do you run to as your refuge? And can you take that refuge and then extend it out to all beings and say, as much as I hope that this will serve me, I hope that it will serve every other being that I know. Come back to center. Hug the knees in, forehead up to meet your knees, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Then finding your way into Shavasana. Again, if there's lower back stuff, it's always nice to have a prop underneath your knees. So either a rolled blanket or a bolster, or again, those of you who have the furniture to do it, you can always put your legs up on a chair or a couch, 90-degree angle. Good. And support yourself well. And then run to wherever you run to inside when things feel out of control. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath. Begin to let your body stretch and move in whatever ways serve it well. And as you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest and roll to your right side. Take a moment before you begin to push the floor away to come back to an upright seated position. Bringing the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm, or whatever mudra has been serving you well. And again, I want you to just for a moment feel the weight of your own caring. What it feels like to have a great care for other beings, even a great care for yourself, and how that's wrapped up in a lot of joy and positivity and also a lot of other stuff. Fear, sadness, right? Desire that may never be fulfilled. I want you to feel the weight of that, and then I also want you to feel the space that is beyond that. So when it's said that we are asked to take refuge, we take refuge in that bigness because it's the unknown and it's the unknowable. So it saves us from our own reactions. Saves us from feeling like that heaviness is all we've got and somehow we have to figure out how to carry it forever. And there's no way out. So we take refuge in the bigness so that we can continue to care for other beings. We can continue to care for ourselves in a realistic way, and we can really hold that desire, a true desire, for there to be a way forward that is the end of suffering, not just for us, but for others, and that we don't have to know how it's going to work out. We don't have to rationalize how we got here or how it's going to happen. Can you just this moment agree that that is your desire? That every being, the ones that you care about and even the ones that you have no care for at the moment, the best outcome that is there for all of them, that you participate in it and you accept it. The biggest teaching that we have for being in the world, especially right now. So whatever brings you there, the heart place that brings you there, that being, you start with them, but you take refuge in that bigness. It says, can I extend my own personal refuge to all beings? We'll close with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste, everybody. Thank you guys so much. And if you have a moment, a little space in your heart to send out some good thoughts for my ex-dog, always my dog Jake. He has liver cancer, so just that his best outcome happens and that he gets to enjoy whatever time he has left with his family. So send that out there into all other doggies and beings and whatever that are challenged. Don't forget, new classes are up. Come to everything.